And we're live. Hey, what's up? Right now I'm streaming to both Twitch and YouTube at the same time. So I'm not sure how this stream is going to go. I'm not sure if it's going to be slow, but you'll let me know. But I kind of want this to be laid back because I'm in a good mood today. The Raptors had their championship parade. There was a shooting there, but let's not get into that. But there was a moment during this day, during this Raptors parade, where Doug Ford got booed. So I want to share this because this lightened up my day. And by the way, actually, let me type in the stream here. So if you are on Twitch, let me share my YouTube page. Oh, I should also mention, I'm almost at 200,000 subscribers on YouTube, if not already there at this point. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now would be the time to do it, because I hit 100K on January 1st. I'm about to hit 200K on Raptors Parade Day, and it just makes it a lot easier for me to recall these dates if you subscribe today. So if you subscribe today, I'll be able to say, well, I hit 200K on Raptors Parade Day, which is June 17th. So just makes the whole process a lot easier. But okay, sharing the link on Twitch and on YouTube. Subscribe or follow me on Twitch. So usually I'll do both these streams at the same time. Sometimes though, if there's, especially with certain copyrighted material, Twitch is less sensitive about that stuff. So YouTube is extremely sensitive with all that crap. But on Twitch, I can pretty much play anything and talk over it. So my Twitch streams will be more laid back and kind of me just messing around, maybe even playing a game sometimes. So it's good to be subscribed on both. That way you know. All right. So I got both going. Let me get to this Doug Ford thing. So Raptors Parade Day, Doug Ford is the Premier of Ontario, and he was one of many politicians that were there on stage during the presentation portion of the parade. And you're going to notice the difference from when the first two people are announced to when Doug Ford is announced. So let me go to my second screen. Look at me. I'll just chill down here. So let me play this and, oh, actually, my mic might pick this up. So let me just take myself off and play this video for you.
Celebrations this afternoon. Would you please welcome to the stage the mayor of this great city? Please welcome Mayor John Tory. The President and CEO of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, Michael Freesdal. The Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford. The Chairman of Rogers Communications, Edward Rogers.
All right. You saw what happened there. It's been a year since Doug Ford and his party initially won. He has 3 more years left. He is hated by everybody in this province. Okay, maybe not everybody, but most people Doug Ford is hated by. The people that were fooled by him, a lot of the people that were fooled by him and voted for him are now regretting it after cuts after cuts after cuts to social services. Meanwhile, he also gives a tax cut to the richest people in Ontario, even though the whole time he's saying, oh, we don't have any money for these services. No, healthcare, disability, oh, all these services, we got to start cutting and cutting and cutting. We just can't afford it. Yet you give a tax break to the richest people in Ontario worth $275 million a year. Yeah, that's just, I mean, one of many. There are so many things I could pull out. He canceled a planned raise to the minimum wage and froze it for the next 4 years. Canceled two planned sick days that people were going to have, took those away. He is a terrible person, a terrible premier, and those boos don't even do it justice. They should have been even louder, but I'm sure they were quite loud for the people who were there. Now let me also see. Actually, let me check the chat first. So as I said, this is going to be a laid back stream. I just kind of want to chill today, guys. I've been working too much. I've just been working too much. I just want to look at the chat, maybe answer some questions, you know. But I don't see anything yet. A lot of people chatting. Okay, I'll do this. I'll do the chat afterwards. There's just too much going on. But let me get to the next piece I want to do here. So I was so a few days ago I was sent this video from a valedictorian, John Nick, who this actually made news where he lives, but he gave a speech and it impressed me. This is somebody that, I mean, it shows you just how much more aware kids are these days of what is going on in the world. When I was graduating high school, I did not know anything. I did not know anything about what was going on in the world. Now, we did have internet. Yeah, we did. We had internet at the time, but it wasn't like it is now. I mean, with social media and the ability to actually follow what is going on in the world, not to mention, I mean, politics is different now. If you're young, you should be engaged. Simply on the issue of climate change alone is a reason to be engaged in what's going on, because this is the world that you're going to be living in. So John Nick sent me this. He's the guy in the speech you're going to see. I forget where he's from. I think it's Virginia, but don't hold me to that. But so he's from Warwick High School, the Warwick High School valedictorian, and here is his speech. I cut it down to about 3 minutes, but you're going to see why this guy is impressive once I pull it up.
But most importantly, I think, I've gotten a permit despite my age to vote in the 2020 election. And that's so important to me because I recognize the gravity of this moment in our country's history. You know, we live in a dangerous time, a time in which being gunned down in a public school is a rational fear, an unrelenting fear. And I know because I used to think about it all the time. So did many of my friends, and so did many of their parents. And that's totally understandable because we live in a time in which the murder of 20 elementary school students is met with inaction. A time in which our lawmakers would rather pocket special interest campaign contributions than listen to the vast majority of Americans who demand a change. We live in an unjust time. A time in which a routine encounter with law enforcement can be lethal if you're not white. A time in which the unholy combination of mass incarceration and socioeconomic inequality has trapped black people in this perpetual cycle of recidivism. A time in which our conception of the word thug is tantamount to a skin color. A time in which an 85% male legislature was audacious enough to defy the Constitution and curtail women's autonomy. This country is 51% female, and yet women lack the representation necessary to take control over their own bodies. We live in a time in which gender identity determines whether or not you can fight and die for your country. A time in which the top 1% controls 40% of the wealth in this country. Fellow graduates, we live in a precarious time. A time in which the UN Council on Climate Change tells us that we have 12 years to cut our carbon emissions by at least 40% or we're all toast. If we remain complicit, our brothers and sisters of color, women, the LGBTQ plus community will continue to be treated as second-class citizens. If we remain complicit, our planet will die. It matters what you do because it is you who will be on the sharp end of the stick. It is you who will experience the consequences of this neglect. And that's why I encourage every single one of you, even those of you with whom I vehemently disagree on virtually everything, to act. Act on every single one of your moral obligations and make the world a better place in your own unique way. You all have no excuse. You must become politicians and challenge socioeconomic inequality. You must become lawyers and fight for racial justice. You must become teachers and educate our children, become scientists and save our planet, register to vote, and take back our generation.
All right. So how awesome is this guy? This is a high school graduate. He touches on issues of gun violence, racism, climate change, money's influence on politics, the need to register to vote. I mean, again, I had no idea about any of this stuff, and when I was his age, and now it's no surprise he's going to study astrophysics. I mean, you could tell this is a brilliant kid. So I find these kinds of stories inspiring because this shows us that there is actually some hope. There are people out there that are young right now that are already educated on this stuff. So if they are already starting from this point, imagine where they'll be, in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So there's some hope for the future as long as we have a future, as long as we can continue to avoid things like a world war or the impact of climate change, which will absolutely have an effect on us. I mean, it's having an effect right now, but it will have even more of an impact if we don't act immediately. All right. There's one more story I want to do. I'm trying to decide if I should wait for it and answer some chats now. I did see a super chat. So people in Twitch. So this is the one issue with doing Twitch and YouTube at the same time. On Twitch, people are used to having a constant ongoing conversation with you. So you always have to be sort of engaged in the chat. YouTube, I can go back and look at old questions and people don't mind if I answer an old question. But with Twitch, they want you to be like there immediately. So I can't serve both. I'm going to try. But when I serve the Twitch audience, it's going to be a little late, just so you guys know. So I did see a question on Twitch first. Let me just get to that. Why exactly is his party, referring to Doug Ford, called the Progressive Conservative Party? Those two words are contradictory. Yeah, that's just the name of the party. It's Doug Ford's party. The Progressive Conservative Party is a conservative party. If you're in Ontario, you know that, but I can totally understand that being weird and confusing to people outside. But that's just, I mean, it's sort of a relic in terms of how the party actually functions now. At one time, it was a little more, I guess you could argue, a little more progressive conservative in some sense. But now, no, it's totally the Conservative Party. Let me get one more question from, I saw a Super Chat question. This is from, if I find it. Actually, there's a few now. So let me just go through all these. So this is from Paul McGinnis Puppetry. Puppetry. Why hasn't AOC endorsed Bernie? Will she? So this is a good question. I think the reason why AOC has not endorsed Bernie is because it would have less of an impact now if she did. I do think she will. I mean, again, she worked in his campaign. Members of her staff also worked for Bernie. I think it's very, very, very likely, unless Bernie's support somehow collapses and Warren takes over, I think it's very likely that she will endorse Bernie Sanders. But it's not going to happen until we get closer to, at least closer to Iowa. So once the voting actually starts and we see how the race has unfolded. So if you have Warren and Bernie in a tight race when it gets to Iowa, I don't think she'll endorse at that time. I think she'll step back and see how the votes go, see how the different states vote. And possibly once it gets to New York, maybe a week before New York or 2 weeks before New York, she'll endorse Bernie. But if the race is a situation where you have Bernie way out ahead and say Warren's dropped off and maybe it's a race between Bernie and Biden, for example, I think she will endorse Bernie before Iowa if that's the case. So it's all going to depend how the race unfolds. I think she's trying to save her endorsement so that it will have as much of an impact as possible. Because if she endorses Bernie now, I just think it won't be able to carry the same impact that it would have if she did it closer to the New York primary or closer to any of the primaries. Next question. John O'Shea, did you watch the cardboard box reform video yet? Cardboard box reform. I don't know why that sounds familiar, but I don't think I have. Stephen Day, is AOC 100% right about Amazon being bad? I don't think that's not her argument. So the issue that she has with Amazon is the issue that Bernie and AOC have with all large corporations, that they don't pay enough in taxes. So if you continue to run a company where you are underpaying your employees, so your employees have to survive off of public assistance, meaning that taxpayers are funding that. Now, look, I have no issue with taxpayers helping people in society. That's why we pay taxes. But if you're doing it to the point where you have billionaires, you have billionaires running these companies, making huge profits for themselves, and at the same time they are not paying their employees properly, that's an issue. So that's the issue that she has with Amazon. That's the issue that Bernie has with Amazon. It's not that Amazon is bad or any company is like 100% bad. You have to look at how they are run and the actual critiques of that company and what they do. Now, at the same time, you can also argue the issue is a lack of regulation. So these companies, they're going to try and make as much money as possible within what is legal, because that's what capitalism is. And when you have these massive corporations, you have these, these huge teams that can really understand what tax loopholes they can use to avoid paying taxes, then they're going to do that to the best of their ability. So that's what's happening right now with Amazon and other large companies. So until you have more regulation or more oversight on how these companies are run, then that's going to continue happening. So at the same time, while we're criticizing Amazon, you could also just critique or criticize the system in general, the system that allows this kind of greed to take place. No question. So this is just another super chat from, I'm sorry if I screw your name up, Nawamaka Okibi. So thank you for your super chat money. All right, let me go to this last bit here, because I'm hearing now that the Justice Democrats are going to unleash something crazy tomorrow. Potentially a challenge against Nancy Pelosi. That's the way it sounds to me. So Justice Dems have something big coming tomorrow, but for now, they at least have one challenger out there that is public, and that's for Texas's 28th district. So right now, that's held by Democrat Henry Cuellar. I think that's how you say his name. And this is a guy who's the second most conservative Democrat in the House. And it's not that he's even in a conservative district. He is in a solidly blue district in Texas, yet he is the second most conservative Democrat in the House. Now, let me first and while I say second most conservative, I think the first most conservative is Dan Lipinski. So Dan Lipinski even voted against or doesn't support a woman's right to choose. And this is a Democrat. So I think that's why Cuellar is not the first most conservative. But here's his challenger. So I'm going to play this video from, I think you say her name as Jessica Cisneros. She'll say it in the ad. You'll see it. But his challenger is possibly the next AOC. So check this out.
My mom and dad came to Texas to build a better life for me and my sister. My dad picked fruit, and then later on, he was able to start his own trucking business. And at that time, my father was so proud that he put my mom's and his initials on the logo. But eventually, there were trade slowdowns in Laredo, and he had to close his business. My father sat us down, and he reminded us, vamos a echarle ganas, tenemos que salir adelante. And that's exactly what we did. We worked hard, and we kept at it. And now I'm blessed to be an abogada that fights for families that look just like mine. Our economy and our immigration systems are broken. And while the president fans the flames of hate and bigotry, his cruel anti-immigrant policies are pitting Texans against each other. These policies don't represent the values of South Texans, and the politicians who defend these policies don't represent us. Our congressman claims to be a Democrat, but he's voted with Trump nearly 70% of the time, and he's Trump's favorite Democrat. Henry Cuellar voted to defund sanctuary cities and reproductive services for women's health. He's received an A rating from the NRA, and he's accepted thousands of dollars from private prisons and the Koch brothers. Mira, here's the truth. Henry Cuellar fights to protect Trump and the big corporations. I'm fighting to end the separation of families. I'll fight to pass a $15 minimum wage, Medicare for all, and the Green New Deal so that we can create jobs here at home. This campaign is for la gente. It's for la raza. It's for the people of South Texas. I won't take a dime of corporate PAC money, and I will fight tirelessly from Bexar to Webb County, all the way down to Hidalgo County. Mi nombre es Jessica Cisneros. Yo soy demócrata y me postulo para servir a la gente del sur de Texas en el Distrito 28 en el Congreso de los Estados Unidos.
There you go. So Jessica Cisneros, I believe that's how you say her name. So she is a Justice Democrat, which means she supports all the big policy platforms like a $15 minimum wage, a Green New Deal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, getting money into politics. She, of course, doesn't take any big donor money. So this is a real solid challenger to Henry Cuellar. And I think she has a great chance. I mean, if she can get out there and amass the volunteer base in a similar way that AOC did, there is a solid chance that she will win, because Henry Cuellar has the only reason guys like this win is because they aren't challenged. So when you actually challenge them and you take your message to the people, you knock on doors, you go around your district, especially in House races like this where you don't have to worry about an entire state. So look, when you're primarying someone like Joe Manchin, you have to worry about the entire state, or someone like Nancy Pelosi. You have to, well, Nancy Pelosi, not necessarily, but you have to worry about their entire state. So when you are primarying a senator, it's a lot tougher. But if you are simply primarying somebody in their district, it's a lot easier to amass the volunteer base that you need in order to get out there and actually change votes. So I think that's what people need to understand when it comes to these primary challenges. That's not to say don't primary people like Joe Manchin. Paula Jean Swearengin did a solid job, considering she didn't have anywhere near the amount of money that Joe Manchin did. But it's going to be tougher for someone like her going up against a senator than it will be against someone like AOC going up against someone that just has a House seat. So I think she has a solid chance. I do hope that tomorrow, whoever the Justice Democrats announce, I hope it sounds like it's going to be a major seat, which is why I'm leaning towards Nancy Pelosi. It may be a senator, but again, if it's a senator, it's going to be a much tougher race to win. Now, let's just have some fun. So I did everything I wanted to do. Maybe I'll find some more random videos online, which is what I had a Twitch, a live Twitch stream over the weekend. It was about an hour and a half. It didn't save. It was the first time I ever did a Twitch stream, so I didn't even know how to save anything. But it was fun. I mean, I just sort of laid back, played some videos, commented on stuff, talked to the audience. So the reason why I'm diversifying and starting a Twitch is because I don't know what's going to happen with YouTube. YouTube is so unpredictable. I mean, I have no issues with them right now. So there was a couple months there where a lot of my videos were being demonetized. And I'm just like, this is why Patreon money is so important, because it allows independent media like myself to be able to continue this work and not have to rely on YouTube. But if YouTube is also going to be my real issue with demonetizations isn't even necessarily the fact that they're demonetized, because again, I have Patreon. It's the fact that those videos oftentimes are also delisted. So if I have a video out there that I spent, hours or days on, and it goes out and it gets demonetized and delisted, I mean, to put all your effort and work into something and then to have people not even be able to see it unless they are literally on your channel looking for the video, yeah, it pisses me off. And I want to be able to have other options out there just in case YouTube does something crazy one day. So that's why I think it's important to also maintain this Twitch channel. And I will be doing Twitch specific streams occasionally as well. So that's why I think it's important for you to subscribe on both. So if you're subscribed on the Twitch stream as well, or you're a follower of mine, you will get a notification when I'm live on there as well. So you'll always know when I'm doing stuff. But yeah, there was a while where I'm just like, it's really hard to know what's going to happen with how YouTube reacts to these sorts of events, where in this case, Crowder and Mazza had this thing blow up, and then it led them to a situation where YouTube was already saying that they were going to implement these rules anyways. It just so happened to coincide with the Crowder Mazza story. I find that kind of suspect, but that's what they're saying, so I don't know. But they just reacted to it in such an absurd way. I mean, to continue to lump in content that is, say, anti-hate or anti-bigoted, trying to expose the bigotry, lumping that in with content that is bigoted. I mean, what it shows you is YouTube is doing whatever they can to not hire more people. They are relying on their algorithms as much as possible so that they don't have to hire anybody, and they're allowing this kind of crap to continue, because the way to actually solve this problem is you hire more people that are educated, people that actually follow the rules, follow their own terms of service, and understand how to implement these rules properly. If you have a video promoting bigotry or being bigoted against somebody, and another video debunking that bigoted statement, those are not the same thing. We should be able to acknowledge that. So YouTube's inability to do that just shows their complete unwillingness to hire more people, because they want to make as much profit as possible for those at the top of the company. All right. Let me take some more super chats and then get to the Twitch chat. It's really weird trying to manage these two audiences, because in some ways they're also very different. I will say, though, I've been playing a lot more games. It allows me to kind of like get my mind out of this negative world, this largely negative world of politics. So I will also be doing some gaming on Twitch as well as talking politics, because it allows me to unwind. And as I showed you earlier, I'm super into basketball now. Wasn't for my entire life, but I'm telling you, this Raptors run, I don't know why I didn't pay attention earlier. It got me to pay attention to basketball, and I am now realizing how awesome this sport is. I played it when I was a kid, but I was never really into the NBA. But man, this Raptors team, it lit a fire under me. And the reason I brought that up is because I've been playing NBA 2K19. It's on sale for like $3, I think, across all platforms. So if you're into basketball, I know the new one's coming out soon, but I don't care. And you want to spend $3 on a game, I mean, NBA 2K19 is the way to go. All right. More chat. And by the way, that's not an advertisement. I just like the game. I would like to, if they could pay me for that, though, that would be great. All right. John O'Shea sent me $2 on Super Chat. 250 Canadian on 3/12, March 12th. I don't know what you're talking about, but thank you for your Super Chat. Franco fan. David, nice to see you live. Thank you. Christopher Middleton. Have you seen 3speak.online? It's a crypto video sharing platform. I think I've heard of it. I don't want to get into these. Hey, you know what happened? There used to be a streaming site called Venmo or Venmo. I forget what it's, something like that. And I was uploading my stuff to there, and they disintegrated. So this is the issue that I have with new platforms coming up. It's hard for me to spend the time to put my stuff on there, because that's taking time away from me doing actual content. So the reason, I mean, Twitch, I have no worries about Twitch going away, so that's why I'm on there as well. But when it comes to these new platforms, I just don't have, I don't have the bandwidth. I would like to be able to be everywhere, but I'm one guy and I have limitations. Sam O. Hey, David, need your help to support a candidate named Michael Owens, who a progressive running against a blue dog Dem, David Scott, in Georgia's 13th district. I think people have been tweeting about this Michael Owens. I'll look more into him. And yeah, I'll cover him as well, just like I covered Jessica Cisneros. I think I'm saying her name right. But yeah, I mean, any of these primary challengers that have a legit platform and aren't taking any big donor money, there's no reason not to support them against establishment Democrats in a primary. Again, these are primaries. That's where the actual fight should be. And then when it gets to a general against a Republican, yeah, vote for the Democrat. But the actual fight should happen in the primary. Annie Rossi, super chat. Love your show. Thanks. Oh, thank you so much. Laura, thanks for your hard work. I share your videos on Twitter. Thank you. Which reminds me, I should clip my videos and actually upload them to Twitter to make them more shareable. But again, lack of bandwidth. So, makes it harder. Okay. Let me go to Twitch now. Feel like when I jump into Twitch, it's... Yeah, I already saw a bad word. It's like a whole different audience. And not just a bad word, you know what I'm talking about. So let me see if there's any questions here. I know you Twitch people, you like me to be engaged with you at all times. Don't worry. When I do specific Twitch streams, I will. But right now, it's kind of tough. Dave, notice me. Okay, I noticed you. That's from Everyday Progressive Show. This one from Ooga Booga Long Boo Boo. We need to ban all leftist resources from the internet. Okay, I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm glad you're here. So I think I said Venmo earlier when I was talking about the live streaming platform. Someone wrote Venmo. Yeah, it's not Venmo. It was called something. VidMe. VidMe? That's what it was called. VidMe, I think. VidMe. That's the one. If you look up VidMe, I was uploading my stuff to there like 2 years ago, and they just went away. So that kind of burned me on being on other platforms. Somebody saw or wrote something about me needing to see a video. Oh, watch Destiny versus Mr. Reagan. All right, I'll check it out. All right. It's kind of hard to parse what's happening on Twitch right now, but I'm really glad that there is some engagement happening there, because that is just a brand new platform. This is now my second stream on Twitch, so there's actually people watching. That shows me there is an audience for this kind of thing on Twitch, which I wasn't so sure there was. Another question. This is a super chat from Lord and Master 14. Fan from Australia, I do enjoy your content, which is to me on par with Kyle's content and analysis on issues. I'm also going to run for a state seat. Oh, what an amalgamation of comments there. Thank you. Thank you for your comment. And hey, if you run for a state seat and you're challenging somebody who needs to get out, let us all know, and we'll support you. All right. I don't know what else to do. Honestly, I would like to be on here and just like play a video game or something, but I'm going to have to unhook a bunch of stuff, and it's just, I can't do that right now. But I'll take some random questions. I'll keep looking at Super Chat, but I'll take some random questions from the actual chat. Another question. And that was just me talking over myself. Okay. I'm going to take some random comments on YouTube, just random stuff. It's going to look from the beginning to now, see if anything pops out. From Trayvon Cooper. Hey, great channel, David. Can you describe socialism as opposed to capitalism in your view, and do you believe that capitalism is evil or a necessary evil? Well, socialism is the workers owning the means of production. Capitalism is clearly a class of people that are not workers owning the means of production. But in terms of, I'm kind of on the spectrum somewhere between, I still consider myself to be a social democrat, though I am reading, maybe it's here now. I am reading the Socialist Manifesto, and it's actually it paints a good case for why socialism might actually be the ideal endpoint, and that's because it then prevents those that have power to then take that power back. So it basically, in a socially democratic system, with capitalists still in charge, they're always going to fight to have more and more and more. It's going to be a constant battle. But when you actually put the power of these companies into the hands of the workers, that no longer is an issue. So there is that argument. Now, look, that's a very, basic way to frame it, but there is an actual argument for that. So I totally understand that point of view. But I think that the issue is right now we are so far and away from that actually happening that it's hard to really conceive of a society where we have a socialist society. And I also don't think it would start with America. I think it would start in smaller countries and maybe work its way out from there, because then again, I mean, there have been attempts in other countries and America has squashed them. So that's also the other issue, is when you have this superpower who is so deathly afraid of their power and their wealth being challenged, then you're going to have this issue where you have a country like the United States crush other countries that are beginning to have success with socialism. So, yeah, I try not to think. I'm one of these people where I try not to think too far ahead. Like, I think it's possible to have a socialist society in maybe 100+ years, but I'm not going to be around. So I want to worry more about the here and now. And in the here and now, I'm a social democrat, and I think it makes more sense to push for universal programs and policies that actually benefit all people, and not worry about the ideology and how exactly the system operates. Worry more about, first of all, getting the money out of the system when it comes to American politics, but also instituting universal programs like healthcare that just benefit everybody. All right, let me see if there's anything else. Progressive. Oh, this is from Vitor Lima. Great job, David. Progressive from Portugal. This is a progressive from Portugal. Cristiano Ronaldo! Exclamation marks. I'm half Portuguese, so there you go. I'm a big fan of Portugal soccer team, but that's pretty much it's pretty much the end of my knowledge of Portugal. No, I shouldn't say that. Portugal actually has they're the ones where they have implemented they've decriminalized all drugs, and they did that, I think, 13 or 14 years ago now, and it's been a massive success. So the rates of addiction have gone down, the rates of hard drug use have gone down, crime has gone down. So Portugal has shown us the actual way forward in how to deal with drugs, and that's decriminalization. But the rest of the world right now is so slow to follow, and I think decriminalizing is good, but there are also some drugs that I think should be legalized and regulated, like obviously marijuana, but also psychedelics I think should be used as a tool that doctors have to be able to prescribe to people that are suffering from things like PTSD or anxiety, or even just stress. I mean, there are so many benefits to psychedelic medicines, and the more we move closer to that kind of society, you just saw, I think it was Denver. Denver just legalized, or not legalized, they decriminalized the use of magic mushrooms. Huge boost. I mean, we are going to see, I hope, some reporting there on the effects on the ground from, the time that's happened to, say, 10 years from now, and how that has potentially benefited people there. So I hope we continue to see that, and I think we will continue to see that as more people are educated on the research around psychedelics. All right, let me see what else is here. Let me go back to Twitch. Sorry, guys. Twitch audience is a little smaller right now, but I'm impressed by the size of it, considering I'm brand new on Twitch. This from Master Trumpet 1. Biden becomes a Democratic nominee. Do you think that someone worse than Trump will rise up? That's totally possible. I have to say I don't think Biden will become the Democratic nominee. I think you see right now with the strength of both Warren and Bernie, if you combine those two numbers together, they overtake Joe Biden, and Joe Biden's numbers continue to fall. So I think it's very possible, actually, that we will see potentially a race between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, which would be great. On one level, it's great. On the other level, I want to see Bernie over Elizabeth Warren. I think Bernie is pushing. The reason why his message is so unique is that he is really pushing for a political revolution. He understands that you need pressure from outside the White House to actually get things done. I don't think Warren right now is really as conscious of that. And even if she is, and I think potentially she is aware of that, but she doesn't want to. She's afraid of challenging power in a way that Bernie is not. I mean, we saw that with her lack of endorsement of Bernie in 2016. We see that even now with her inability to really support Medicare for all. I don't know why she's wavering on that policy out of all policies, but to me, Bernie Sanders is far and away the obvious choice to vote for in this primary. So Warren, while I may put her as second because of her experience and the platform that she's put out, and also her ability right now to actually win. I mean, people always bring up Tulsi Gabbard. I think Tulsi Gabbard is largely great, but she is very far down in the polls right now. So until Tulsi is polling a little bit higher, I don't think it makes sense to realistically actually support or vocally try and push support for her when there's an issue with Joe Biden. I mean, you have to overtake Joe Biden. You have to overtake these moderates, these conservative Democrats. So once that fear is gone with someone like Bernie or Warren, then I think it makes sense to begin propping up some other progressives as well, potentially, and not necessarily in this race, but just in general. But yeah, Warren's a strong number 2, but she's nowhere near Bernie Sanders. So I don't know why we even have to pretend to have this conversation. I mean, there are some progressives out there that are saying, well, I don't want to, say I endorse anybody yet. Let's just see how it all plays out. Are we really playing this game? Are we really? You all know. If you cover news, if you supported Bernie in 2016, he's the choice for 2020. So I don't think it makes sense to play this game. Just, it's okay. Support Bernie. I mean, that's one of the most amazing things, or one of the most beneficial things I think about commentary on YouTube. People are open with who they support. I think that's important. I think that's actual reporting. So it's important to report the facts objectively, but then also admit your bias, admit who you actually support and why you support them. There's nothing wrong with that. The issue that I actually see are people that hide their bias, reporters that pretend that they don't support somebody to give this veneer of, oh, I'm just a neutral arbiter. BS. We all know every single reporter on television has their favorites. They just won't tell us. So how is that better than actually being honest with people and telling you who they support and why they support them? So when it comes to reporting on politics, I've reached the end of my ability to even watch it. I mean, I used to watch Morning Joe a lot because I was curious what people in Washington and New York and these establishment circles, what they were saying. But now when I turn on those shows, it pisses me off because it's just lie after lie after lie. And even if it's not necessarily a lie, it's the way they frame the discussions. And I mean, even on The View today, so I was looking at clips of The View because I was potentially going to cover something on there. You have Joy Behar, who is maybe the most left-wing person on that show, and even she still thinks that you have to support or should support somebody who can defeat Trump. And in her mind, being able to defeat Trump means being closer to him on policy. It's like, where were you in 2016? Did you not see that Hillary lost to Donald Trump? Did you not see that Democrats lost over 1,000 seats over 8 years under Obama and Nancy Pelosi? I mean, why don't you learn these lessons? Like, there are some people out there who are purposely pushing a certain line to try and change minds And, they push certain narratives because they are told to. Those people do exist on TV. But there are also people who I think are honest people. I think Joy Behar is an honest person. But she, because of the media that she watches, because of the people that she talks to and what she absorbs, she doesn't get that perspective that a lot of people that watch politics on YouTube do. So it's a completely different ballgame when you actually introduce the facts into a discussion and you break down the narratives that have been so completely off base for so many years. I covered now I'm forgetting his name, Lee Carter, on I think it's Lee Carter. He was on MSNBC. Yeah, Lee Carter. He was on MSNBC last week, and the way he framed it was so perfect, because he said the only way to win is with a socialist. The only way to win is with Bernie Sanders. That's the kind of framing you never see on television. You only see the framing of, oh, well, Joe Biden could actually beat Trump. Oh, a moderate could actually defeat Donald Trump. But you never see the opposite. You may see people that say, oh, Bernie's exciting the progressive base, or Warren's exciting the progressive base, or he has these policies that are popular. But you'll never see people go all the way and say, no, actually, the only way to win, the only way to beat Donald Trump is with the opposite of what Donald Trump is. The only way to beat Donald Trump is with someone who is actually cares about people, who actually has a real message and is actually going in a completely different direction and isn't taking big donor money like the entire establishment, whether Democrat or Republican. I mean, you never see somebody go all the way to pro Bernie saying he's the only way to defeat Trump. You only see the other way, which shows you again that the mainstream press has a bias. Their bias is towards the status quo. Their bias is towards the powerful and the wealthy. They don't want to challenge the powerful and the wealthy because they work, or they are the powerful and the wealthy. So that's this entire bubble. And then you have the rest of the country. So, which is why they were so caught off guard by when Trump won, because they were just not engaged with people and understanding that Hillary was not exciting voters. And Trump was able to capitalize on that low voter turnout for Democrats, and capitalize on that in certain states to be able to win. Now, yes, Hillary won by more votes, but unfortunately, that isn't the game. And it was way too close. I mean, to be that close to Donald Trump, it just shows you how completely bankrupt of ideas and support the Democratic Party has. The race shouldn't have been close at all. Hillary should have been way out ahead, but she wasn't for multiple reasons. But one of the main reasons, is because she was the perfect example of somebody that the entire country hated. Somebody with wealth and power and privilege. And they were not questioning or challenging that wealth and that power with any real substance. Meanwhile, you had Donald Trump pretending he was, or pretending to understand the issues that people had, and then giving a false answer to those issues. So, look, I really think one of the most important issues that can really divide people is money in politics. So if you have a candidate like, say, Joe Biden, who is taking all this money from everywhere, as he's always done, just like Donald Trump will be doing, then you have no real argument over what Donald Trump says. But if you're running a campaign like Bernie Sanders that is only supported by grassroots supporters, grassroots movements, small donors, you have an actual argument on the base level. You have the argument to say, look, I have no reason to lie to you because I am only supported by the grassroots. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is taking all this money. He did it last time, but lied to you. He pretended he was self-funded. He wasn't. And he's doing the same thing now. He's always been a liar. He's always been a loser. Meanwhile, for me, in terms of me being Bernie Sanders, for Bernie Sanders, it's all about the movement. So that's, excuse me, that's the completely different, I mean, you sell a different message like that, a completely different way of doing politics, that convinces people. That gets non-voters off the couch to actually recognize, hey, this person is different. The way they're running their campaign is completely different than anybody before. This is actually a different candidate. I think Bernie Sanders can do that, but he has to win a primary first. And to win a primary, you have to win over a lot of registered voters. So this is the issue with, I mean, people will bring up, okay, well, if Bernie could have beat Trump, then why couldn't he beat Hillary? The primary process is completely different. A lot of states are closed, so you have to be a registered Democrat. And a lot of states, on top of that, you had to have been registered way before the actual voting day. So that's the issue that Bernie ran into. Because Bernie appeals to many non-voters and people that aren't Democrats, he wasn't able to get the amount of votes that he really needed to win the primary, but he came damn close. So if people are more ready this time around and are registered, by the way, if you're watching this and you're not registered, make sure you're registered to vote. So if they're more registered, if they're actually ready and willing and able to vote for Bernie this time, then that's going to give him support above and beyond what we saw in 2016. All right. I'm not even sure what launched me into that tirade, but let me get back to some more questions here. All right. I think I've neglected Twitch a little bit, so let me go to Twitch. Aren't you Canadian? Yes. Yes, I am. That's from Helmert Witch. Or Helmer Twitch. One or the other. This is from I'm So Base God. If you live in New York, you have to register to vote as Democrat. They don't let you vote if you're independent for the primary. All right. So if that's true, New Yorkers, make sure you are registered. If David is Canadian, isn't he interfering in our election? So I've seen this. I've seen other people say this too. No, the way the Russians interfered, they were pretending to be something that they weren't. It was bots. They weren't even real people. And by the way, I really don't want to get into how much or how little Russia actually had an impact on the election. I think they had very little, if any, impact. I mean, I get it. They had some Facebook accounts, some Twitter accounts. Though I do think there was an issue, at least in one of the states, with the voting booths. Don't quote me on that, but I've seen some reporting on that. But no, I mean, you have reporters from all over the world reporting on American politics, and vice versa. American reporters report on politics abroad. So yeah, that isn't influencing an election. I mean, maybe I'm influencing the election, but I'm Canadian. I'm not pretending to be something I'm not. You do realize you passed 200K. Oh my goodness. I completely forgot. That's like why I started this stream. So wait, who sent that? That's all your names. I can't pronounce them. Sede Bray, whatever your name is. Thank you so much. 200,003 subscribers. If I had a soundboard and I could play some music, some celebratory music, I would. That's awesome. I mean, this channel doubled since January. So in January, I hit 100,000 subscribers. January 1st, exactly. And today, I have now doubled it. That's pretty crazy. I'm not sure why all you people watch. Why am I compelling? Why do you find me interesting? I don't find me interesting. But if you do, that's what matters. So I'm very glad you do. And that's awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Awesome. Okay, let me take some more questions and then not bother you people anymore. All right, let me go to YouTube chat. All right, we got some super chats on YouTube. Let me go through these. I don't know where I left off, but let me start with, I know I said Annie Rossi's one. Laura says, thanks for your hard work. I share your videos on Twitter. I read that one. The one from Australia, I read that one. All right, here we go. Artificial Morphous Man. Do you agree that Mayor Pete is corporate sellout? I hate, let me say, I hate using the phrase corporate sellout because it sounds, I don't know. It's for some reason when I say it in my head, it sounds like it lacks, I don't know. It sounds like I'm trying to just say something to shock people. Oh, he's a corporate sellout. Yeah, he's a corporate sellout, but it's not necessarily he's a corporate sellout. It's that he's an empty shell. So Mayor Pete is an empty shell for whoever his donors are. This is my issue with corporate sellout. It makes it sound like that he wasn't one before. It makes it sound like that, oh, now he's sold out. But from everything we understand about Mayor Pete, he was never on the side of actual people. I mean, you look through his history as mayor. There are some serious issues actually with his history as mayor. I don't want to bring them up now because I don't have them in front of me, but look into that. And essentially, this is a guy who, when he started his campaign, he was saying a lot of things that sounded good, but there may even be a video I have on him where it's slightly positive. But the more we learn about him and understand who this guy is and how he's really not anybody and how he is an empty shell for his donors, which is why the media has propped him up so much, then you understand this is not a guy that's on your side. So, and just look, I don't always love the argument of, oh, they aren't ready yet, they don't have the experience, but Mayor Pete doesn't have the experience. So that's another issue on top of it. But look, at the same time, if we're going to choose between Mayor Pete and Trump, I mean, Mayor Pete all the way. But when it comes to a primary, I'm not going to say anything positive about Mayor Pete because there is no reason to. I mean, it's a primary fight. So why even look for any positive aspects of somebody that you do not want to win the primary? All right, let me look at another super chat. Shelby Hall, Community Management Pilgrim Rest Baptist at 6 p.m. tomorrow with Phoenix Mayor. Police brutality incident. Oh, okay. We need people to send a message. We've had enough. Okay, so if you are in Phoenix, go to the community meeting, Pilgrim Rest Baptist. I assume that's a place. So 6 p.m. tomorrow, Phoenix, over the police brutality incident. Thank you, Shelby Hall, for sharing that. Debo the Black Panther. I supported Sanders in 2016, but I was highly disappointed and offended at his reaction towards reparations for foundational Black Americans. I think this is the issue with that. It hasn't been, unfortunately, it hasn't been a topic of conversation very often. So because it hasn't been a topic of conversation, these candidates are not going to be as ready to answer the question. Though he now supports, he does support the bill in the House to look into reparations, as does I think a lot of candidates now. So I think that's a good first step to support that bill and to support the research and whatever needs to actually be done to get to a point where you are implementing reparations. So I think that's a good first step. But yeah, I totally get not being satisfied with his initial answer on that. And I think a large part of it simply is because it's not a topic that gets brought up very often. So he was not ready. Not saying that's any excuse, but that is a reason for these candidates to not quite be ready for a question like that. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Alexandra Cote, thank you for your $20. Very nice. All right. Let me check Twitch. All right. Look, I love Twitch, but when I go there, I don't know what you guys are talking about. So seems like it's all over the place right now. But anyways, thank you for your support. Let me take some random questions from YouTube before I get out of here. Daniel Gallmeyer says reparations is a losing issue. That's also an argument. But at the same time, just because something is a losing issue doesn't mean that you shouldn't support it. I mean, Bernie supports people that are incarcerated voting. And that's not a popular position to have, but it's the right position to have. So even if something isn't popular and it's the right position to have, look at Bernie's entire career. In most cases, he has been on the side of an issue, on the correct side of an issue, long before it was popular. So that is the mark of a true leader. So I don't think something being unpopular is a reason not to support it. At the same time, if you're just talking about strategy, I do get what you're saying. I don't think enough people yet are educated on it to really understand if it is the right thing to implement. All right. I think I'm almost done. The problem at the end of these streams, if you ever watch my other streams, I'm always having a good time. So by the end of the stream, I'm like hunting around for more questions because I want to hang out more. But at some point, I just got to go. So, Caden B says, David, you should host Destiny on Twitch. Maybe one day. Yeah. I wouldn't mind talking to more people. I think this person's joking, but they say Biden Harris will win, and y'all know it. The reality is, I think most candidates would beat Donald Trump. But with that said, that's what people thought about Hillary Clinton. So I don't know. You can't just assume things, even though I think you're joking. But all right. Okay. Thanks again for allowing me to hit 200,000 subs. And before I go, support me. So patreon.com/therationalnational. That will get you to the Patreon page, or go to therationalnational.com/join. Maybe that one's easier. Also go to the Twitch page. Looks like my Twitch stream has frozen. That's weird. But go to twitch.tv/therationalnational. And what else? Yeah, support me. Or look, if you don't want to become a patron, you can also just send a donation to paypal.me/David Dole. It'll be below the video on YouTube in the description box. On Twitch, I'll type it up, though for some reason the video has frozen, so I don't know what's up with that. But yeah, so there you go. Support the channel. Understand that YouTube is demonetizing us still, though. I mean, to be completely honest, I've been fine the past week or so, but that's with me being very careful. I mean, it's getting to a point now where I'm not even putting certain tags in the videos now because I'm afraid that it may trigger something with YouTube. YouTube tells us nothing in terms of if a video is demonetized or delisted. They don't tell us exactly why. They don't tell what content it was. We have no idea. So we're always left in the dark, which is why it's so important to support us on Patreon with crowdfunding or with PayPal or on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, you can see the join button. You can also become a YouTube member. And this is the way that this is what allows us to survive and keep doing this work. So thank you all for your support. And hopefully, if everything went right this time, this video will still be up on Twitch after I'm done streaming, as well as on YouTube. So again, thank you. And I'm looking for the way to get out of here before I do. All right. Thank you. Goodbye.